What's a podcast? I like your show.
How did I get here? Welcome to the Shipe Sports Show.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Shipe Sports Talk Show, joined always by my co-host and producer, Paul.
How are you, Matt?
Good. How are you doing, Paul?
I'm doing fine, man.
Joined always by my other co-host, Chris Cordova.
What's going on, everybody?
And always by our last co-host, Anthony Ladicio. Anthony, how you doing?
How you guys doing tonight?
Good. I think Anthony's
right.
still recovering from the Goldberg appearance yesterday.
Oh yeah.
So on today's show, we have a little big full lineup. First, we're going to cover the Redskins' hot start and also get into Stephen A's loser comments that he made on First Take, since Stephen A, for whatever reason, doesn't like to respect anyone but teams from New York. Afterwards, we're going to get into our fantasy football segment, where I do our stardom and sit-ems. And then we're going to get into a little hot debate of UFC 205, discuss whether Conor McGregor deserves that title shot or he should defend his own title. And then we're going to finish off with the baseball playoffs. The Blue Jays just beat the Cleveland Indians 5-1 to make that series 3-1. Nationals, unfortunately, last week were eliminated in a Game 5 against the Dodgers. We're going to cover a little more of the Nationals in a later episode. Once all the playoffs are done, we're actually going to do a year in review for the Nationals, so look for that to come up. That could be its own special show throughout the week, so look for that. Maybe get in touch with Paul about maybe doing a special show throughout the week for the Nationals review. What do you think, Paul? Think maybe we could set that up one day?
Yeah, I think we could do that.
All right. So let's get right into it. Stephen A. Smith, how you doing, buddy? How are you doing? So, Stephen A. came out. The Redskins, after the win against the Eagles, I'm sure Chris watched the ending. I'm sure Anthony did. Well, Anthony, maybe not what the comments were said in his locker room. Chris, help me pronounce this guy's name. Ricky Francois?
Jean Francois.
Jean Francois, yeah. Going to the back, he yells out after beating the Eagles, "We run this division. We're the champs. We have the title." Basically saying the Redskins run the division, which, as of right now, they are still the defending division champs. They have the title until they are dethroned. Stephen A. took some defense of that, telling them they need to stop saying blah, 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 and basically called them losers, and then went on a rant on Twitter today, pointing out how many Super Bowls they have, how many, obviously, conference titles, playoff appearances, and all that stuff. To that thing, Stephen A. does have a point. There hasn't been no Super Bowl titles, but besides Anthony's Giants, what other team in that division has even won a Super Bowl? Which the answer is 0. Unfortunately, Stephen A. is a Giants fan, so that's you can see where that's coming from. But I think his loser comments are taken out of content.
Well, the Cowboys definitely have won a Super Bowl.
Recently, you mean? They hasn't won a Super Bowl. Yeah, in the last 20 years, maybe. Yeah, I was going to say the Cowboys have
I think he did
the second most.
I think he said like the last 9 years or something is what he did.
No, more than that, man. It's like 20,
like 20.
But still. It's been a while.
No, I mean for his stats that he put on Twitter was the last 9 years.
Okay.
Is what he wrote, is what I was saying.
I got you.
But Stephen A. is known to go out and attack certain players or teams on ESPN First Take. Skip Bayless, former co-host, now on that Undisputed show, which is, if you watch it, it's the same damn thing, just with Shannon Sharp and not Stephen A., which is ridiculous. He does the same thing as well. That's all these guys do, is they just talk trash, and they really only concentrate on certain teams. Stephen A., New York-based teams. He loves talking about Carmelo Anthony, stuff like that. When Skip Bayless was on, who did he always talk about? Cowboys this, Tony Romo that, blah, blah, blah. It's annoying. I don't like the show. I dislike both of these guys. I think they're in it just for, as what anyone does for a show, the ratings. But I think his loser comment was not appropriate. The Redskins are the division champs. So how can you call a team that's 4-2? They just ripped off 4 straight wins losers. So, Chris,
Like that?
Yeah.
You like that?
That was perfect timing. Chris, what are your thoughts on his comments?
Look, man, I think you're right. It's ratings, man. That's all what it's about. I mean, if you were to lift your shirt up and show everybody your nipples, I mean, you'd get views. You can't tell me you wouldn't get views.
Please
and
don't
that's exactly what it's about. And do I think we're losers? No. We have a 4-2 record. We're second in this division. We are the reigning NFC East champions. So I don't think it was right, but he has every right to say that, and that's fine. We'll just have to beat the Giants January 1st, and then we'll see if we're still losers.
Oh, by the way, Stephen A., we beat the Giants this year. Anthony, I'm not putting this at you at all. I'm not trying to start anything
Yeah,
with
I'm
you.
sure.
I'm just more towards Stephen A., him calling them losers. His team's the Giants. You lost to the
fired.
Skins this year. You lost.
Yeah.
So, Anthony, since you're with, I don't know how you feel about Stephen A., him being a Giants fan, what are your thoughts mostly on his comments?
I don't think that I think he could have went about him in another way. I also he said they have the loser mentality. Basically, what he was trying to say, the way he went, like I said, he has a way of being very, boisterous with the way he says stuff, and he just gets, very animated in saying it. It's not necessarily that he's saying like they're, he just like you guys said, he wants to go at them. He wants them to get riled up. He wants them to get like that because he wants more of a reaction. He wants these guys to be like, hey, you know what? Next week on First Take, we'll come in and we'll talk to you. And he wants to have that kind of back and forth with someone because that's what his job is. I understand where he's coming from, though, too. But the Redskins have every right to say we are the defending champions. But his thing was you just beat a team, in the Eagles who's playing with a rookie quarterback who's been playing very well, though, so far. And you're not in first place right now. And I think that's where he had the issue at the comment that Jean Francois went into the locker room right after and saying, oh, we run this when, they won the NFC East. Yes, they rightfully have that crown right now, but they didn't do much other than that. And right now they're not even in first place defending the trophy. But to your point, they are 4 wins in a row. And two of those are division wins against two teams that at one point so far, I mean, obviously it's still early, had sole possession of first place. So, you got to take it where you can. Yes, they did lose to the Cowboys, but this is going to be a close division. We said this from the beginning. And another thing, you have to think about too. Yes, they won NFC East, but they were the only team over 500 when they did it last year.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot more. I think that it's going to be a lot more competitive. A lot of people, we can attest to it here. We thought 2 of these teams were going to be under 500. We had the Eagles, some of us at 3-13 and 4-12, and the Eagles are what 5-4-2. Right? Or 3-2 because they had their bye week, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Okay, so I mean they're already, they've already done well so far, and Redskins are 4-2, the Giants are 3-2, and the Cowboys only have 1 loss, and it came against the Giants, a division loss again. So it's going to be a very close thing, and I think that Stephen A. has some merit to what he's saying, but I also think that again, he didn't have to say it. The Redskins aren't losers; they just won the division. He's saying more of the mentality. But again, the way he words it could have been a little bit better.
But how can you say they have a loser mentality?
I enjoy watching him because, like you said, the ratings. That's
how
what
can you
he's
say they have a
there
loser
for.
mentality when they're saying they run the? I mean, that sounds like a winner's mentality to me. How's that a loser mentality?
I think he's saying this is why. No, he's saying this is why they have a loser's mentality. Like they're being, instead of just going out there and saying, you know what, we don't need to throw it in your face. We won this game. We won a hard-fought game against the Eagles at home by 7. Let's go to next week. He's saying these guys need to go out there week in and week out, just keep winning games. They don't need to speak about it. They didn't win the Super Bowl last year. They didn't win the NFC. They just won the East. He doesn't want to hear them, being boisterous and saying that would be like and he does it to the Cowboys too. If the Cowboys went out there, you don't see Prescott or Ezekiel Elliott off to the hot start and be like, yeah, we're going to run this division. They're not saying nothing. They're staying quiet. And believe me, I don't like to give the Cowboys props. But that's what he wants to see. He wants to see these guys. And Cousins, you know what? You have to give him Cousins. Everyone was writing him off. He's quietly been playing even better week in and week out, and now they've won 4 in a row. So I think the right people have to be making the noise too. Jean Francois, I don't think should be the guy making the noise for the Redskins. If you're going to do something like that, it should be the leader like Cousins or Norman on the defense. And I think that's kind of where he's getting that kind of thing. And you see now Baker is going at it with him on Twitter. So.
Well, I mean, see what happens. Interesting to see what happens. But I just think Stephen A., like I said, I personally don't like the show. I don't like the way him and Skip, when they were on it, even Skip now, the way they run the show, because they just try to attack everyone. Sorry, guys. If you didn't suit up everything, I don't know why they're out there attacking them like that. Especially you see Skip going after, Dez Bryant week in and week out. That seems to be Skip's new thing, and now him and Dez go at it.
Constantly, the two of them. The two of them would argue constantly. After a while, like when I first watched it, it was funny because I was like, these guys are just going at each other. And then after a while, it's like the same thing or just a different topic. But 90% of the time, it got worked back to that same topic they talked about week in and week out. So, I mean, that's just the dynamic of the show, I think. But you got to give, Stephen A. usually does a lot of different things. But again, I agree with you on your point that he could have went about it in another way.
Yep.
Because the Redskins are still the reigning champions until a new team's crowned this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right. Well, speaking of the Redskins, let's go ahead and talk about that 4-2 start. Chris, what are you liking so far from them?
Well, definitely this past game, I saw a much better and more evolved Kirk Cousins in the pocket. There was definitely some times where he kind of reminded me or looked a little bit like Aaron Rodgers in terms of his mobility, which is something we haven't seen recently. His ability to kind of extend the play just a few extra seconds to get that receiver open, and then he's hitting them. And I think that's a big difference as well, as in the first couple losses, he was missing some passes that really should have been made. So the fact that he's able to extend the play and then hit the passes that he needs to make, I think that makes a world of a difference, and that's why we're on a four-win winning streak right now.
Yeah. Anthony, coming from a Giants point of view, what do you think about the Redskins so far?
Yeah, this is the team I expected to see out of the gate. This is why I picked the Redskins at the beginning of the season to win the NFC East, because I expected a lot of the same. I know you aren't high on him, but I still think Matt Jones has all the tools to be
He's
a
getting better.
every down running
Week
back,
in,
and
week
I think
out.
he's showing well. And I like this rookie they have a lot, Rob Kelly. I told you that was another guy I watched for a sleeper pick. That he's a good thing. And Thompson, I mean, you really haven't seen a lot of him yet. So those three guys, if they're used correctly, but you have to keep Jones as the lead guy. A lot of teams have that issue when they get multiple guys. They try to ride the hot hand. You always have to stick with the one guy, and I think Jones is easily the lead back there. And they're showing you that maybe letting Morris go wasn't such a mistake after all. On the defensive side, as long as everyone's healthy in the secondary, you got to love the secondary. Obviously, Norman, you're seeing what a huge impact he left on the Panthers. I mean, they had to play an undrafted rookie to start this past weekend. So, I mean, this is why you pay a guy like Josh Norman to be the anchor of your secondary on a defense, and he's paying dividends there, I think, to me. And I think Breeland's great. They have D'Angelo Hall still. A lot of another one of rookies I think's been playing great is Cravens.
Hall's out for the year.
Well, I'm saying he's not there right now, but when he's healthy. But Cravens, another great rookie that they drafted, I think has been playing great football for them. He was even playing safety in that game against the Giants. So, I just think overall the team is starting to look like it's building. And it's, for me as a Giants fan, it's not something I want to see because we lost that first matchup. We're going to have to play these guys again.
Yeah.
That's why I think that first matchup was crucial, because you had them on the ropes. And now I think they might just, if they're going to play like this, it's going to be a team that you don't want to see come January.
Well, and you see on their schedule, you're like, crap, they have to play all the division winners from last year. Now you look at division winners, Packers, they're struggling. Carolina, they could be written off already for the
Yeah.
playoffs unless they work around. So it's almost like, the Redskins went from playing the top teams in the league to, it's like, okay, maybe they can compete with the Packers. Maybe they can beat, the Panthers. I tell you what, Norman's going to come out in that Panthers game. Probably a little extra motivation that he's got to prove to them, like, look, you guys should have paid me, and this is why. He's going to make them.
Probably.
He's going to burn them.
Yeah,
I mean,
say
he
probably.
is.
I think it's a guarantee.
Yeah,
yeah.
But
The only really good division winner still that's actually playing decent right now are, I know you got the Cardinals struggling. I mean, you Seattle, obviously, but they finished second last year in their division, I believe, behind the
Well,
Cardinals. So.
I was just about to text you and just kind of say, hey, we should touch on what our projections were and maybe altering our projections now that we've seen how these teams
what week are we on? We're on week 7, right?
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah,
do
some
that
sort.
actually next week at the halfway point of the
Oh,
season.
no.
Probably something cool.
That's fine. But
All
I'm
right,
just
but you know
saying.
what? We'll do that next week. We'll look at our projections from the NFL preview show and see how
Right.
we are right now.
Yeah, like
Halfway
you
through the
mentioned,
season.
all these division winners, all these division, winners that we're supposed to be playing that we easily wrote the Redskins off. These are now looking like winnable games. So it's going to be interesting how we reevaluate our predictions.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm happy
Absolutely.
for Odell. He is now engaged to the kicking net, so good for him.
Yes.
That's funny.
And a huge game too, by the way.
I'm probably going to get killed by Anthony for mentioning this. So someone mentioned to Anthony over the weekend that the Giants paid all that money for their defense and, they're last in the league in sacks. So I respond back to this person. Odell has a better chance of kicking the now I'm messing it. Has a better chance of kicking the kicking net than kicker from Tampa Bay because that's that guy's favorite team.
Why'd you have to bring that up? You would bring that up.
Oh, because it's funny. It's funny.
It is funny. It
I
was a
didn't
good
mention
one,
any
but
names. I thought
I
that
know.
was
Oh
funny.
yeah, I mean he's gonna know who it is, but I mean
He's not watching the show.
Odell had a great game, man. He needed that. So
I'm happy for Odell. I really am. He
This
needed
was
this
definitely
after
his breakout game.
after a
Yeah.
couple weeks of the whole especially the kicking net thing. He's posted 2 back-to-back good weeks, and this is what he needs to get jump started.
Yeah, I mean, he single-handedly won the Giants the game. He saved their season to me. So
Now, if you guys can just get, the running game back to where you want it to be and get that defensive going, Giants
you
can
want the running game to be good? Cut Rashad Jennings. Guy's got to go.
I was gonna
Guy's
say I don't
horrible.
know. I don't know with the running backs that you guys have. I don't really see
Horrible.
anybody
I'd play the rookie.
busting
Let
out.
Perkins play. What's the worst that happens? We
Yeah.
continue to do nothing.
Yep. And then once your defense gets the thing about your defense is that they're all new, so they got to click together. I think that's what
Yeah,
people need
I
to
think-
realize. They need to get some continuity.
The pass rush just isn't there yet either. I mean, it's not there yet. Spagnuolo's going to get some more, schemes in, and the secondary
It's a
hasn't
new
been healthy
defensive
really
coordinator
since the
and a
first
lot of
couple
new
weeks.
players.
I mean, Jenkins already against the Packers alone picked off Rodgers twice in the first half. So I mean, he's already paying off. But that's a game again without Eli Apple, without Dominique Rodgers Cromartie. So that's two of the top three secondary guys not playing, and our safeties. We're switching rookies in and out. So because we just don't have that strong safety yet, and then we had another injury there. So I mean, they got to just figure out what they want to do there. I think in time though it will get good. If we're going to have that kind of coverage downfield, eventually we're going to get the pass rush. But 100%, that's a fact. What you said, you can't be paying the most money in the league on defense, and especially you went out and got two people, and Pierre-Paul. Considering, I mean, yeah, he was a returning free agent, but they spent on three guys on the defensive line: Harrison, Pierre-Paul, and Vernon, and you're in last place. So I mean, yeah, there's a point to it,
They'll
man.
get there. All right, so since we're on the football, let's go ahead and move to our fantasy focus segment where we do our start 'em, sit 'em. So, like always, we'll start with the quarterback. So, let's start with
You're gonna have
Anthony.
to skip me. I forgot this.
Okay,
I forgot
so
about
Alright, I will
this.
start.
We'll have. I'll start first, and we'll go. So, my first one, real quick. My starter for
Okay.
the week is going to be Derek Carr
All right.
of
all
Oakland.
right.
I think he's been playing great lately. He's got that Oakland team playing really well. I really like, with Cooper, Crabtree, I really like what he has going on there, and I think, he's going to keep rolling with that team.
Real quick on Oakland. Did they win? They won this past week, right?
Were they playing? Were they
No,
playing?
they lost.
They
They
lost.
lost.
against-
Okay, I was gonna say. So
Well,
they're
let's-
4-2, right?
Let's say it. No one can beat Andy Reid out of a bye week. In all his years of coaching, he's only lost twice after a bye week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I think.
So, but
That's
they
true.
play Jacksonville this week, and Jacksonville, we thought their defense was going to be better. I know I did a sleeper
Yeah,
pick
you
on
did.
them on fantasy football. I look like a fool right now, but I just like the way David Carr. Am I sit him this week? Brock Osweiler. Sorry, buddy. You're going against the Broncos. They are going to tear you up this week. Mr. Von Miller will be reintroducing himself to you, but in a more painful way. You don't have that red jersey on where they just stop when they want to sack you. They're going to hit you this time. So, Anthony, let's go with you.
Yeah. My stardom. I have the guy leading the league right now in passing yards. Another favorable matchup for him. I think Matt Ryan's due for another big game. I could see him throwing for 400 yards again against this San Diego defense. Not a defense that's really been intimidating anyone so far this year. And then for my sit-em, I had Osweiler. So I'll go with my second pick, which was I picked Andrew Luck against Tennessee. I really have not seen much from Luck this year.
To really warm.
And Tennessee really hasn't been letting up a lot of points for the overall. I know obviously they don't have the wins to show it, but like you said, they've had one possession losses for three of their four losses, right? So
What
I
also
mean,
helps out with Tennessee is when Andrew Luck's offensive line is horrible, and
yeah.
you have the number 3 guy in sacks.
So and they really don't have much of a running game. I mean, Frank Gore's trying, but I mean Frank Gore's not making it happen to where Luck's getting something. But like you said, the offensive line's a huge issue.
Yeah.
There, if Gore can't run the ball effectively, they're just going to keep stacking the box
Speaking
and not
of
let Luck move. So
sack leaders, 2 of the top 3 former Redskins players. 2 guys they let go. Lorenzo Alexander, who was only a special team guy, has leading the lead with 8. Then Arakpo had 7. So 2 guys, the Redskins, who are notorious for, for some reason, whenever someone leaves there, they always end up having a good career somewhere else. So Chris, your quarterbacks.
I think this week, as a stardom, I'm gonna have to go with the guy who's doing a revenge game this week, Sam Bradford, going back to visit the Eagles after they just
Wow.
traded
I thought
him
you were gonna
away.
pick Osweiler. I was going to throw something at you.
No,
I heard
no.
revenge. I was like, no, he can't.
Look, they're coming off a bye week, right? So they've had an extra week to prepare for this game. You know he wants a shot against the Eagles, who basically just, gave him away after telling him he's going to be the starter this year. So I definitely would be playing him in a couple fantasy leagues. FanDuel and DraftKings lineups. As a sit-em, Let's see. I'm gonna have to go with Drew Brees this week, and let me kind of put a little star around that. Drew Brees is still going to have a decent game, but you do have to kind of bring down your expectations going against the Cincinnati Chiefs, sorry, not Cincinnati, Kansas City Chiefs defense. I think is actually pretty good. He's going to do well. He's probably get a couple touchdowns still, but he's not going to have a monster game like he had this week against the Panthers.
That's fair.
All right, so we'll switch over to running backs. My stardom this week will be LaShawn McCoy. I mean, just came off a 3 touchdown
have to.
performance. He's playing Miami this week. Miami, they did a pretty good job against Pittsburgh. Slowing down Le'Veon Bell, but 2 weeks before that, DeMarco Murray was running all over them. So I like LaShawn the way he's running this year. And then my sit-em this week, I'm gonna go with another guy in the Eagles Minnesota game. I'm gonna sit Ryan Matthews.
Yeah.
Point proven. Minnesota's defense is incredible. They're 5-0 right now, and they're going to ride that defense. This could be the best defense we've seen since that Chicago Bears defense that everyone's talking about, or even it was a 2000 Ravens is when they had like all those Lewis, Reed, and all of them, I
Don't
believe.
mention that defense.
Oh, I'm sorry. Forgot about. So, dude, I'm
You always got to
Michigan-
find ways to just knock the Giants off, don't you?
Well,
huh?
it wasn't intended to be that way. Anthony, go ahead.
At running back, I have from Kansas City instead of Ware. I think Jamal Charles is due for a big game against New Orleans' defense. This is
They just traded running
defense.
back too. Kansas City did.
they trade Niles Davis is
Niles
actually
Davis
now.
is
Yeah,
moving
well
to
he
the
won't.
Packers.
And you know what? While you're saying that, since we're talking fantasy, that's a stash pick for anyone in fantasy. I do not see on a short week Niles Davis becoming anything major in the offense, considering he got traded for today and they play Thursday. I don't see him being a big play. That's not my sit-em, but that's just friendly advice to anyone that needs a running back. I'd pick Niles Davis up, but don't expect him to get the start. And then for the sit-em, I went with what did I write there? I wrote, what's his name? From Houston. Lamar Miller. Lamar Miller had a huge game this past week. I don't see him replicating that against the Denver defense. For the same reasons you said about Osweiler. They're not going to just make sure Osweiler doesn't do anything. They're not letting that offense do anything against them. I think Denver is going to play, with a vengeance. They don't like that Osweiler walked and left them. I don't think they're going to let anyone on this team do anything to them. I think Lamar Miller's game will not be near what he did this past week and help the Texans make that comeback against the Colts possible.
All right, Chris.
Well, for stardom, I'm gonna have to go with DeMarco Murray. I mean, I think he's top 2 or 3 in terms of rushing yards this year so far. So I don't see them straying from what's working for them. The Titans are, definitely like running the ball this year, and I can definitely see him just keep giving DeMarco Murray the rock. He's at 500 yards this year and 4 touchdowns. It's just gonna get better. So for the sit-em, I'm going to have to go with Isaiah Crowell this week. And the reason for that is the Browns are playing the Bengals. So they've had some high-scoring games, but I think this is going to be a pretty lopsided win for the Bengals. And if it gets lopsided and the Browns have to play catch-up, then you're going to see a lot of Duke Johnson Jr. as opposed to Crowell.
Yeah, Duke.
All right.
Yep.
So it's funny you mentioned the Bengals because my stardom wide receiver this week is AJ Green. I mean, come on, look what
Shocker.
Kendall Wright just did against that Browns defense. Same with Matthews. I mean, by the way, did you two see the catch by Kendall Wright that he made
I
for that
didn't
touchdown?
actually.
Huh?
I did not
It was
actually.
pretty nice. Dove out at the 1, got up, and then dove back in the end zone before getting touched down. So I'm going to go with AJ Green against Cleveland. Also, Joe Hayden, he was out last week. I don't know if he's coming back this week. If he is, he's not going to be 100%. And then my sit-em this week, I can't believe I'm putting this guy in a sit-em category. Antonio Brown. No Ben Roethlisberger playing against the Patriots, who have a pretty good defense. Like I said, this will probably be the only time I've ever say this, but Antonio Brown, I'm sitting him this week. Anthony? Chris,
I'm just saying, I'd really only sit him if you have a better option on your bench. I mean, the motto is you start your studs, and he is your stud. You could give him a 1 yard out pass and he turns it into a 80-yard
he
touchdown.
could, but I'm
you know
just
what I mean?
worried about, Landry Jones. He didn't really look too good when they had him playing, in the preseason or anything. You got to give him the ball, and I feel like, if with with the young quarterback. I think it was the second or third year. You may see Le'Veon Bell get the ball more,
I'm gonna say.
possibly. So I'm gonna
Oh,
go.
definitely.
And I feel like
How
with
big
him being
impact
young,
does that help?
huh?
How big does that an impact if you have Le'Veon Bell? I think he's a must start. I don't know how we
Yeah.
missed him thinking about that.
But
I
I
think
feel
we
like,
all thought someone else had him.
Yeah.
but I feel like the Patriots are gonna be like, okay, look, this guy's young. He's gonna want his top guy. You're gonna see Devin McCourty over the top of him. You're gonna see Malcolm Butler on him. I think it's gonna be hard to get Antonio Brown the ball. So I'm gonna go with my surprise sit him and Antonio Brown.
No,
So Chris,
fair enough.
what you?
Well, to start, I'm gonna have to go with. Just moved away from my screen. Sorry about that. I'm gonna have to go with Julio Jones this week. I feel like he is the number one receiver right now in terms of receiving yards. That's why him and Matt Ryan are at top of their position in terms of yardage, and the Chargers defense is just not that good. So I think Julio Jones is definitely going to be. Is he going to have another 300-yard game? I don't think so, but I could definitely see him get 150 and one or two touchdowns easy.
I hate Julio
Um,
Jones.
huh?
I hate Julio Jones.
I mean,
Why?
you gotta give. Yeah. Why do you hate him?
Cost me I lost fantasy by .4 because all
You got to
he
give
was-
him respect, man, against
Yeah.
Seattle's defense like that.
Yeah.
That he was making those
Surprising.
plays.
He wasn't doing good the first half, and I'm like, cool, I should win this fantasy game. Nope, second half, put up 20-something points. Ridiculous. So who's your sit 'em?
So Sidham, this is kind of a weird one. Michael Crabtree kind of got off to a really hot start this year. He kind of looked like the receiver to own in Oakland, and then Amari Cooper these past couple weeks has definitely come on. Finally, thank goodness for my fantasy football team. So it looks like Amari Cooper is definitely now the clear-cut number one guy. Crabtree is still getting a couple red zone looks, but I think you got to taper your expectations with him now.
All right, Anthony.
For my stardom, I originally had AJ Green, so I'm going to switch that. I'm going to go with Odell Beckham Jr. They're saying Tremaine Johnson is still questionable. I know the Rams' defense is still a good defense, but without their number one corner, it's going to leave a matchup to an advantage, and I think Beckham could exploit that. I mean, you saw this past week, even on slant routes, he was taking them 80 yards. It doesn't necessarily have to be the big play, but
Yeah.
he can make the move on, with his feet. And then on the sit-em, I'm going to play someone that, of course, he's on New Orleans, who always have a high-potency offense, but Willie Snead really has not been getting the looks nor the touchdowns to show the production that we were expecting, from him in a fantasy output. So I'd say bench Willie Snead, especially against that Kansas City defense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, we get to our last positions, tight ends. Mine this week, whatever Redskins tight end starting. We saw last week, Vernon Davis put up some really good numbers that he hasn't seen probably in a while. Probably the past 2 years or so, he hasn't put up some of those numbers. Scored a touchdown, then got that ridiculous 15-yard penalty. I mean, I don't know what you can celebrate in the NFL anymore. You can't shoot a hoop anymore, but Gronk can spike the ball 50 feet in the air, but whatever. And then who I'm sitting this week? Antonio Gates. He came back last week and hit, God, what's his name? Hunter.
Hunter.
Still
Yep.
had the most yards and the most catches and the touchdowns. So Gates, it looks like, Gates is starting to wind down the end of his career. It seems like they're starting to transition away from him now into this new kid. So I'm sitting Antonio Gates. Anthony?
Yeah, I actually, backpacking off that, I actually have Hunter Henry as my stardom this week. I think he's getting more and more of the reps as the starter, even with Gates back, like you said, and he's playing great as a rookie, So I think that's a great addition for them, especially if this is, like you said, towards the end of Gates' career, which I think pretty much everyone thinks, but maybe this is his final season there in San Diego. And then for Sidham, number one defense in the league, like you said, Zach Ertz. I haven't really seen much of him yet, and I don't see that happening Sunday night against Sunday against Minnesota. So I'd say Zach Ertz is a Sidham for the week for tight end.
All right, Chris, finish off our fantasy segment.
Well, gonna have to listen to you guys. In my fantasy team, I had Antonio Gates as my starter. I thought I'd be set for the season. I wouldn't even need another tight end. So he went down. I picked up Hunter Henry, and last week I had the dilemma: what do I do? Do I start Antonio Gates? Do I start Hunter Henry? I made the wrong choice. I started Antonio Gates. He got 3 points, and Hunter Henry had 20. Had I made that switch, I would have won last week. I only lost by like 10 points, and the difference was like 17 points. So I would have won that game. So I made the wrong choice last week. But for my starter, I mean, how can you not start Rob Gronkowski this week? pretty much any week. As long as he's healthy, even if he's not healthy, as long as he's out there, he's definitely a red zone threat. And he just recently had the best tight end game for the Patriots in their history. So you got to start Gronkowski in whatever league you have him in. In terms of a sit, I'm gonna have to go with Charles Clay. It's kind of odd because the Buffalo Bills don't really have a lot of receiving options, and you would think once Sammy Watkins went down, at least last year, Charles Clay was pretty trustworthy guy to go to, and he's just basically disappeared off the map. So I can't trust him until he starts to get looks and more touchdowns.
Yeah. Before we finish, Larry Hurd just wrote in the chat, "Thank you, Mr. Hurd, for watching the show. We appreciate your support." He wrote that he loves the show. Says we're doing awesome. He's the head coach, varsity head coach, football coach at Clarksburg High School. So, Coach, good luck with the rest of your season, and thank you for the support and thank you for watching, Mr. Hurd. So, real quick, before we go off the topic of fantasy, real quick for our Shipe Sports Talk lead right now, Chris Pagan is in first place at 5-1. I'm in second place at 5-1. Paul is in third place at 4-2. Me and him just had a good battle this week.
Yeah, you stole my first place spot. I was the top of the charts.
Jeff is fourth. Graham is fifth. James is sixth. Jose seventh. Francis is at eighth. Chris ninth. Guillermo 10th. Brad 11 and Anthony at 12. Oh, that was wrong. There we go.
Sorry.
Also, congratulations to our co-host Chris Cordova, who won the Fantasy Baseball League and only lost one time throughout the entire season. And Chris, someone who doesn't watch baseball that much except when he's on the show.
What is baseball?
Yeah, that's what his team name is. Congratulations on just having one loss. That's smart.
Yeah, it was fun, man. I think really the only reason that I win is because I'm actually involved pretty much every day, every other day. I'm looking, making sure my pitchers that aren't pitching are out, pitchers that are pitching are in, watching injuries. But it's fun. I definitely enjoy it. It's definitely got me to actually watch baseball, so it's definitely a good thing.
Yeah, I'll buy you a beer for winning it. I'll buy you a cheap one.
All right, that sounds good.
Here's
All
your-
right.
But Anthony, what's going on, man?
Oh.
You and I are in the bottom of this league right
Yeah,
now.
way to represent the show, guys. At least
Listen, man.
All are up top.
Listen, man, you made me a regular. I didn't make myself a regular, so. I don't know, man. I mean, those
Injuries.
predictions at the beginning of the year, they said right away, they were like, Anthony's going to be in 11th. I'm like, yeah, right, I'll be in 11th. I mean, I guess I was right. I'm not going to be in 11th. I'll be in 12th. So, it's a little bit of everything.
Well,
I
hey,
mean, I guess
We'll hold it down for Shipe Sports Talk.
The
I'm
season
going to make a
isn't
comeback
over.
here.
Season
I'm going to
isn't
make a
over.
comeback. Exactly. I mean, I got to win this week. I think I'm actually playing your wife actually this week, Matt. So if you can ask her, maybe to take it easy for me for the good of the show.
Just bench
You know.
the kicker. you
Yeah.
know?
But yeah, hopefully, I did have a couple injuries. Hopefully that'll,
Yeah.
help me out getting them back. But who knows, man? It's just been a rough go for me so far. Tajay Sharp, your boy on the Titans, really hasn't stepped up like I wanted to as a number
thought
one.
he was going to show up, and now
receiver.
it's Kendall Wright and Rashard Matthews.
Yep, tell me about it. I have
So-
neither. So
Well,
We're gonna
I got Brady back in that league, so now I'm hoping to get on a little bit of a run here. But hey,
I got
what about
Rick back in your lead.
yeah? What about the ESPN league, Matt? How's that one going?
Oh, you're going to take me a minute to look that up. Jeez.
Is he-
I'm
is he not
only
doing so
asking
good?
because
Oh, man. Okay, I'm going to have to do that next week because my ESPN. Chris, do you have the app up or the thing up?
yeah, I was about to say
Can
the
you
only
get
reason
standings?
only reason I'm asking is because I am in first place
Where am I?
at completely
Tajay Sharp
undefeated.
is the worst.
Let's see. So standings, I'm pulling it up right now. So Team King Cordova at 6-0.
Jesus, that's
Gotham's Most Wanted 4-2. New York Ninja Money 4-2. Team Hail to the Redskins 3-3. That's in the NFC division. The AFC division is not looking as good as the NFC division. We got Team Epling at 2-3-1. Punching Bag 2-4. Men in Tights 2-4. And Shipe the host 0-5-1.
Oh my Yeah.
Why would you say that on air?
Oh, he didn't even say Shipe the host. That was nice. I like that. Say that one more time. What was his record?
Shipe the host, 0-5-1.
We got Mr.
Ooh.
Chat. Just can't do it in one league. He took Adrian
Oh, good.
Peterson, not doing too well. The Peterson injury really kills a lot of people. And Cam Newton's not playing to his MVP caliber.
Who was that wrote that, you said?
Mr. Hurd, Coach Hurd.
Mr. Hurd? Okay.
So we're gonna shift gears here from fantasy. Once again, Chris, congrats for baseball. Correct.
Yeah, congratulations on that, Chris.
And
Thanks, man.
congrats for Yahoo for being down to the bottom. So
You want to acknowledge that one what Curly just
Yeah, I
wrote?
was gonna-
so UFC 205 main event: Conor McGregor versus Alvarez for the lightweight championship. Should not be happening. Should not be happening, Dana White. Don't care what you want in your ratings. Don't care what you say. Should not be happening. Anthony, what title does Conor have right now?
Oh, don't put me on the spot with that, man. I don't know the name of it. I just know he has another title. Is it the
Featherweight, isn't it? Yeah.
is
Yeah.
it featherweight?
Yes, featherweight. Okay. How many times has he defended the featherweight belt?
0.
0.
0. How many fights
That
has
I
he
know.
had since having that belt?
Multiple.
Have any been in that division?
Nope.
No.
Why is this guy fighting for another title when he hasn't even defended the belt that he has? I don't understand. The main event of this card should have been him versus Aldo for them to unify the featherweight. Instead, he gets a title shot somewhere else after losing to Diaz and beating him. So you're rewarding a guy who just went 1-1 without defending the belt. And then for Dana White, the owner, whatever you are, come out and say, Jose Aldo's comments about him retiring are ridiculous. He needs to just suck it up. Really? Jose Aldo should suck it up. He's the interim champion, and you're letting the regular champion who hasn't defended his belt, Aldo never got his rematch, first of all, but you're letting him go up to fight for the another title. Makes perfect sense, Dana White. And then Aldo, obviously, okay, first off, Aldo doesn't get his rematch. He lost, in 5 seconds. Ronda Rousey hasn't fought in about 2 years. Got
Not
knocked
2
out-
years. It's only been like 9 months.
A year. Let's go almost a year.
Not even a year, but still. It's a big difference when you say that.
All right, real quick. Okay. She got knocked out the same way Aldo did. Aldo never got an immediate rematch. She comes back. She gets a rematch. Shouldn't she have to work her way back up? It's the same thing with John Jones. He came back after getting caught doing coke and everything. He got the title. I understand you want money and everything, but how is this fair to the other fighters? How is this fair?
It's
Anthony,
money over everything, Matt.
Huh?
Money over
Exactly.
everything.
Okay,
Absolutely.
There's no fairness.
let's take
in this.
money out of the equation. Is
You're
there
not going to
can't.
ever
You
get
can't.
that in
You
this.
cannot.
In this, the way sports is dominated today, you're never going to get that anymore. You're not going to get. Think about it. Any sport you look at, go look at basketball. LeBron James dominates. His game. He gets money. You look at football.
LeBron earns his way to win that money, though.
Well, you got to think about it. I mean, Conor McGregor, he's fighting in different weight classes. I 100% agree with you. He should not be the champion anymore in the other weight
too.
class. The minute he took the other fight, Dana White should have said, "Hey, that's fine. You want to move up weight classes? Go for that title, but you need to vacate your other title."
Before they make him. Then
No, it should already been vacated. It should already been
whatever
vacated.
title he wants, so he can win the lightweight and be like, "Oh, cool, I won it, but I'm gonna vacate that one and just stay in the featherweight." You're gonna let him pick that option? That's ridiculous. Why does he get that option?
He shouldn't. But again, this is because of the way it is now. McGregor runs his mouth and makes more money for the company, so he's
Right.
going to get the big fight.
Whatever
Just
he
like
wants.
Lesnar, when he returned, did you see how much money they gave him?
Stupid
He
amount.
hadn't fought in years. He's fighting against one of the top 10 heavyweights, and he's the second match before the main. He's the
But
match
you
before the main
blame
event.
what Jose said in his comments at all?
I think Aldo had every right to leave. He was
Yeah.
the interim champion. He still had not gotten a rematch. It wasn't like he was shying away from it. He wanted the match, but again, it comes down to the one thing that we talk about. It comes down to money.
Money.
He's going to make it. Ronda Rousey's going to make it.
Yep.
That's like you said. You were saying your analogy. She hadn't been around in 2 years. 100. Everyone's going to be watching that pay-per-view when she returns for the
Oh, yeah.
title. That's going to happen. I still think she should face Holm
She
again.
should face Holmes first. Is what should have happened.
Well, the thing is, and I agree because she didn't get a rematch. Holly Holm, she went right back to the end of the line.
None of those
She didn't get a
people got
rematch.
rematches.
No one got it.
No one, but she comes
Tate's
back.
not getting a rematch. You know what I
I
mean?
don't get is
If Dana
I
White doesn't be careful, he's gonna run this to the ground like boxing.
well, here's the deal. He's already got paid from that whole ownership thing. I mean, he could probably walk away right now, and he'll be set for life. But one thing I want to ask you guys, which I don't understand, which I thought was going to bring more clarity when it happened, is when they introduced the whole ranking system. What's the point of having that ranking system if you're not going to use it? You know what I mean? If you're not going to have a 1 versus 2 or 1 versus 3, and follow that ranking system, then why have it? I really don't get it. I really
Yeah,
don't.
I agree with you 100% on that. And
Yeah, because McGregor's not even on the lightweight ranking system at all. He's under the featherweight.
When did they do that?
Probably a couple of years ago.
Oh, okay. So it's not something
They don't
like
follow it.
they might be moving to or something like that.
I think it might have been as part of a pay scale, something like that, maybe too. With the whole Reebok deal, I think that had something to do with it. But either way, I don't get it. I really don't get it.
It doesn't make
But to
sense.
go back to the point of the money, for someone who used to watch pretty much every pay per view, ever since maybe pay per view 100, I've kind of been picking my spots here and there, and I'm sure a lot of people, millions of people, have just basically lost interest. But when they see the name McGregor, when they see the name Ronda Rousey, they're gonna remember those fights that they've seen, and they're gonna say, okay, you know what, this one I might actually buy this one. So that's what it's all about, is getting
Well,
those
here
people
I
back
got
in
one
there.
for you. Lightweight. I'm looking at the rankings. Champion Eddie Alvarez. Where do you think McGregor's at on that list?
I don't know.
he's probably not on it.
Not on it.
Yeah.
Nowhere.
He
Featherweight.
shouldn't be.
There's Jose Aldo, number one.
Who was he supposed to fight originally before Diaz took his spot? Who was that match supposed to be against? The first one.
The lightweight again.
It was supposed to be against. It was supposed to be for the title.
Yes. It was supposed to be Dos Anjos this time. It was supposed to be
Dos Anjos.
before he got hurt, and then Diaz stepped in. So he was already getting a freaking title shot to begin with.
Let me ask you a question here. I'm going to ask you this, and I'm going to put it to you this way because this is, if you're UFC, right? This is what would have happened. You know this would have happened. Lesnar won his fight against Hunt. If he would have had another match, you're going to sit there right now and tell me you don't think that match was going to be for the heavyweight title? If he would have came back for another match 5-10 pay-per-views from now, there's no chance that he would not have been put in that match.
No. Now let me tell you about.
But that's the same thing they're doing with this.
Well,
It's just that they're regulars in the UFC. That's all they're doing. I'm not saying I agree with it, but unfortunately, that's the way it's going to work.
Here's the funny part: John Jones, who whenever he comes back, will always get a title shot whenever he comes back. Guess where he's right in the light heavyweight rankings?
9.
Nowhere to be found. Nowhere on that list on the top
But
15.
their draw, it's about,
Again,
and that's the thing, man. Their box office draws.
Right. That's what it's about, is getting those people, those casual people who may or on the fence, may or not buy it. They see a name like John Jones. I got to buy this one.
People watching
Yeah.
at home, real quick. Sorry, I think Anthony's video's lagging a little bit, but just stay with us. Keep going, Chris. Sorry.
No, that was it. I was just going to say, it's exactly what Anthony said. It's all about getting those people to buy that pay-per-view. It's all about drawing them in. And that's what it's about. Money.
I totally agree. I just don't like it. I think this is almost turning into, you hate to compare the two sports, but it's almost going to start being like boxing. I mean, they do give you, unlike boxing, UFC will give you the fights they want or whatever, but you're really starting to get into where it's almost like just get rid of the ranking system. What matters? You're not giving the top guys who deserve these title fights, and people like Aldo, people like Dos Anjos who didn't ever, another guy who didn't get a rematch, but Ronda Rousey does. It's not fair to them at all. And you may start seeing some people say, all right, I'm out of here. I'm leaving the UFC. Georges St. Pierre, I guess he terminated his own contract. I guess he could somehow, and he's now a free agent. I mean, God, he'll probably come back and get a welterweight title fight after being out for 5 years. Who knows? I mean, the guy did almost beat Captain America, but that's besides the point.
Yeah. Here's the deal, though. Where do they go? Where does someone like Jose Aldo go if he decides, you know what, end my contract with UFC? Where does he go?
Rio.
Yeah,
Huh?
Bellator.
He's not going to find a paycheck.
Wasn't
the same
Bellator
paycheck anywhere
bought?
else.
by UFC? That's what I thought.
No, Bellator is still on their own, I thought.
I don't know.
I think they have a pay-per-view coming up this month, actually, now that I think about it.
That's possible.
Look it up. So I mean, it's just, I mean, coming from a fan, like from a fan perspective, oh, this is cool, we get to see this. But coming from someone who like thinks people deserve more than what they should, it sucks for the other fighters. It really, it's really is terrible for them.
Yeah, and I don't think you're going to get disagreement from any of us on that.
No, and it's I'm not a boxing fan, but if you ask me what the last boxing pay-per-view I watched, I'm sure you would guess Mayweather versus Pacquiao. That was like the only boxing match that I ever went to go see and paid a cover
Well, look
to go
how
see.
long it took to do that when people really wanted it. Like it that I mean, you were at my house. We did a whole thing. We cooked out and everything for it. Wasn't what everyone wanted it to be, obviously,
No.
because of how old these guys are.
But what I'm saying is, someone who is not a boxing fan is
Probably
gonna
thought-
go and see that
Yeah,
fight because of the
when
name.
did we ever rent a boxing pay-per-view?
That's what I'm saying. You're gonna go see it because of the name. That's all that matters. It's not about a ranking system. It's not about number one versus number two. It's who is gonna get me the most pay-per-view buys.
Well,
That's it.
we'll see what happens. Like, I think the most thing that I can agree with Anthony is that he should have vacated the featherweight. Featherweight.
I
and
think
gave
we all agree.
Aldo should have had that now on his own. But the fact is, this guy could win the light heavyweight, lightweight title, and then be like, I don't want the lightweight. I'll stay in featherweight, and then just get rid of it again. Like, this guy will have an option to what title he like. Dana White, I know this guy brings you money and everything, but you got to put in some rules, or you're going to start losing some fighters, and they're going to be like, what's the point of even being here if we're not going to get our opportunities?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like at least he didn't put CM Punk in a number one contender fight. Jeez.
Well, look what happened. He put him against a guy that's an up-and-rising contender, and he still made $500,000. Again, he's a draw. That's what they wanted.
That's all it was.
So real quick before we go, just real quick touching baseball up. Like we said, the Blue Jays won today. Cleveland's winning that series 3-1. LeBron is guiding Cleveland baseball now, like Chris said.
Yep.
The Dodgers and the Cubs, their series is tied 1-1. Real quick
1-1.
with the Dodgers, Clayton Kershaw's arm through 2 games against the Nationals, came in for 1 game against Game 5, shut the Nationals out.
That was the third
Closer.
game he pitched in, right, for them?
Pitched in Game
Yeah.
2 for the Dodgers.
Right.
What do you think the condition of his arm is in? Now, obviously, they won't say there's nothing wrong with him. He'll still pitch. But how much of a toll is this taking on his career, do you think?
I don't think it'll have a huge toll on his career.
No.
I think it's definitely you might see fatigue set in here in this series if they've had to pitch him. If the Cubs win the next 2 games, obviously that's something they have to look at in Game 5.
There's no way.
That's what I'm saying. So I think if they can hold him to not have to pitch till a Game 6, if they or maybe they get the next 2 games and they don't have to pitch him at all. I don't know. I don't think it'll be a huge toll on him, but I think that's the marquee win he needed in the playoffs, Kershaw, because a lot of people said, hey, he's great in the regular season. He really doesn't have that postseason, mark yet. And I think that was it. 7 innings of, no run ball against a game Chicago Cubs offense. So, I mean, that said a lot to me more about him than it did about, the Cubs offense. So,
Real quick before you get going. Capitals, who started their season, they're 1-0-1. End of the first period, 1-0. Ovechkin got his first goal of the season, so that quest for another 50-goal season's underway for him. What?
It's hard to be a sports fan in DC, man.
You think? I thought the Nationals had it. So, Chris, National season ended. Kershaw once again came in. Daniel Murphy, who pretty much destroyed Kershaw even through this series, just couldn't come up in that situation.
Yeah, he was there. They had him. They had their best hitter and the chance to win the game for him.
Questionable calls in that 7th inning. I think even with Scherzer giving up the home run, you keep that guy in because he was still throwing heat. I think Dusty may have panicked just a little bit there. But the Nationals will be back next season. Like I said, we're going to do a complete I think we're going to work it out where we're going to do a whole episode of their, a review for their season. We'll even have Anthony He'll, break down the Mets season. We'll have a nice little NL East rivalry, review of their season. Both teams came up short in the playoffs.
I'd break down the Orioles then too, at least.
Yeah,
You gotta let Chris get involved
Orioles
here.
too. Let's do it. Break them down too. I mean, all 3 teams lost in a in a deciding
Devastating
game.
fashion.
Yeah,
Yeah, deciding
heartbreaking
game.
fashion. Yep.
Heartbreak. Yep. The Mets in the bottom, top of the ninth, wasn't it? Sorry. Hey, how do you think
Ninth,
we felt?
yes.
We lost.
0-0. Come on, 0-0.
Yep.
You
The
freaking lose
Mets
that game.
lost in the ninth. Orioles, extra innings. Us with the seventh and making the comebacks. I mean, we all had heartbreaks. It was no blownouts for any of our teams. It was just heartbreaks. So we'll get into that. So I think that's pretty much going to do it for us. So
Well, do you think who's your prediction to win the NLCS? I mean,
NLCS?
is everyone on board here that we think that
I think it's gonna be
the
Cubs-
Indians are going
I
to
think
close
it's
it
gonna
out
be Cubs
eventually?
I think it's going to be Chicago versus Cleveland.
Yeah.
I agree. I think Chicago.
Now,
I really
Cleveland
thought the Red
wins.
Sox were going to be in this position.
If
I'm really
Cleveland
surprised
wins
that
the
they
World
did not.
Series, they need to find some way to get the Browns out of that town because the Browns are ruining everything they got in Cleveland right now. You got the Cavaliers, you got the Indians, Browns. Go to Vegas. Go to
Hey,
Las-
the Browns got some bright spots. Terrell Pryor, man, looks really good.
yeah, they're,
So
yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy that they have such a good player like that.
Real
And
quick, was Pryor the one who was kicked off of Ohio State and came to the draft and waited a year because of the
supplemental draft, yes, that was him.
That's
Mhm.
right. All right.
I think LeBron James needs to show up to more Cleveland Brown games. I think that's
Dude,
what
how
it is.
crazy would that city go if the Indians won the World Series as well?
Yeah.
Oh man, that'd be huge. That's
Yeah.
that'd be what? How
You
many
know
years
what?
has that
I
been?
really hope it's Chicago and Cleveland. You know what? This is why I've always said I like baseball because every year it's someone new almost. It's someone up and coming, another team. It's someone new. Unlike in basketball, we already know who's going to be in the finals. We all don't even have to talk about it. It's going to be Golden State. It's going to be Cleveland probably. Football, this year we got to see a couple different teams. With the Vikings and everything. But it just feels like baseball.
Panthers.
Yeah, Panthers are one of whatever. They're down there right now. But I think, Anthony, you can agree with me. Baseball, it's always someone new every year, it seems like it.
Baseball has a lot of excitement, to it. Like you said, I mean, all sports do, but there's always there's something about it where, in this, a team could get hot and make the run. I mean, it's to be said about every sport, but I agree. You see different teams more often in baseball than you do in football over a 2 or 3 year time frame.
Yeah. So I think that's going to wrap it up for us today. So, Paul, I'll hand it over to you. You there?
Yeah, sorry.
He was taking a shot. That's what it was.
No, I'm here. How come my song's not playing? You like that? Oh, that's not the right one. That's weird.
Looked like Matt was taking a shot right there too.
Well, anyway, I don't know
Yeah.
what's wrong with the outro music. It's not
The
playing.
best thing about vodka is it looks like
That's
water.
fine. I guess, Paul, just say you're Shamilin.
My Schmeeling.
Shamil.
Shemizel. Anyway, yeah. So, right.
No,
So, if you're
is
watching
it-
on YouTube or on Facebook, go ahead and follow us. Like us on Facebook. Follow the page. That's Facebook.com/Shipe Sports Talk. Go on YouTube, Shipe Sports Talk. All the social medias are going to be Shipe Sports Talk. So hit us up on Twitter @Shipe Sports Talk. Send us your comments, your questions, your thoughts on the past weekend's games. Redskins fans, Giants fans, we got a voice for you too on this show, and everything else. So feel free to go ahead and shoot us an email or shoot us just contact us. We'll be happy to address it on the show at some point. Don't forget to help us out, spread the word, tell your friends, share us on Facebook and on YouTube. Retweet our tweets and get us out there. That help out tremendously. So. That's pretty much it.
Yep, and as always, on Monday nights, you can catch me and Anthony on OT3 Podcast. That's our wrestling podcast. You can catch that on Mondays at 7, and we'll be back again next Tuesday at 7 p.m., same time. We'll be doing our mid-season football review, see how we did with our predictions at the beginning of the season, fantasy segment as always, and see what happens within our World Series preview, as the World Series will start that Tuesday, so we will be previewing that next Tuesday, and look out for our Nationals, Mets, and Orioles review show. So it feels so weird doing this without music. So for myself, Chris, Anthony, and our amazing one-of-a-kind producer, Paul, everyone, thank you. Have a good evening, and enjoy some baseball tonight. Take care.
Woo!
Have
See
a good
you
one,
guys.
everybody.
Go Caps.
You guys got to end the show the same way you ended last night's show. Come on. You got to do it.
Oh,
Oh, it's
no.
too late now. It's all.
Oh,
He brought us
double
back.
down. Let's
Gonna
triple
double
down.
down on
Triple
it?
You got to do
You got
it.
triple, Chris. You gonna triple down with us?
Oh, shit. Why not?
All right,
Let's-
triple
All
down.
right,
Triple
triple
down.
down it.
See ya.
So terrible.
You got to do it this way because you won't see
So
Cam
terrible.
Newton doing that much this season.
Oh man, you had to go there.